and his energy, and we would not be the team we are without him. But that doesn't give him license to cross that line, and he knows that.
Max, do you have a problem with Draymond's ejection?
I do. I have a problem as it relates to Draymond, not the ejection. Let me explain. I always felt that the dynamic on the Warriors was a little bit off because Draymond's the heart and soul guy, and Draymond is a leader on that team. And Draymond's also the little bit of the crazy guy. I mean, to play defense the way he does, you got to be a little bit of that. And a lot of great teams have that guy with a little bit of a screw loose, right? And that guy can be a great contributor, as Draymond is, and a leader. But in the absence of another real alpha on the team that has that kind of personality, that could sometimes be a problem. Let me give you an example. In the Cavs' comeback win against the Warriors at Oracle, don't forget, that was a 73-win team. But also don't forget, Draymond was the best player on the floor until late in that game. He was about to win Finals MVP. Steph wasn't getting it done. Draymond was. But Draymond was also the guy, Stephen A., who you point to and say that the Cavs were given a gift by the league. They were given a stimulus package, you called it, when Draymond was suspended because he had so many technical fouls till that point. But remember why Draymond was suspended. Not only all the techs up to that point, because you say, okay, fine, now you're up to that point. No more techs, Dre. We can't lose you for a game. LeBron goaded him. LeBron kept his foot out, remember, and kind of tripped him a little bit. And that triggered Draymond. And if you, Stephen A., point to that as the reason they lost, then that's not just LeBron goading him, because you can't get the other guy to behave a certain way. He's got to lose impulse control in that moment. I think about Dennis Rodman on the Bulls, Stephen A., who also has a little bit of a screw loose and was a great defensive player, a great player. And we saw it in The Last Dance. Dennis Rodman would fly off to Vegas in between finals games. And one year during the regular season, he was given 48 hours. Okay, go cut loose in Vegas and be back. And when he wasn't back, what happened? Michael Jordan got on a plane and went and got him because that was Jordan's team. He was the best player. He was the heart and soul. He was the unquestioned leader. What he said went. That's not the dynamic on this Warriors team exactly. And in the past, Draymond's indiscretion in that moment cost them, Stephen A., according to you, a championship. So when I hear Coach say he crossed the line, we love the energy, but he can't cross the line, alarm bells go off. Because in the past, he crossed the line and it cost them.
Well, I don't want to hear the example of the NBA Finals used because I think the ultimate incentive is that Golden State won that game. It was a game 4. They were about to close out Cleveland in game 5, and the NBA gave LeBron James a stimulus package that's unrivaled as far as I'm concerned and propelled them to a title because ultimately Bogut and Iguodala would get hurt in game 5. Iguodala was never the same in that series. He was a defensive wizard and it compromised their championship aspirations. That's my firm belief. I've never deviated from that, and I never will. Having said all of that, I do not disagree with you nor Steve Kerr with what you said. Draymond Green crossed the line. And the reason why he crossed the line is because you're up 2. Your technical gave them 2 free throws, okay? All right, you got a double tech and you got ejected from the game. You compromised the game and the outcome for the Golden State Warriors. You simply can't do that. And then it gets to a point where what Draymond is going to have to recognize is the fact that officiating, even with advanced technology, even with the instant replay, even with the challenges and all of that stuff, it's still a relatively subjective business. They can get very subjective, and it's got to the point where Draymond is going to get himself and his team in trouble if he doesn't dial it back just a touch. We all love his passion. I think he's a basketball savant. You sit back and you talk basketball with Draymond Green. He knows what the hell he's talking about. I mean, he really, really does. But that's part of the problem because he's so knowledgeable about the game of basketball and he knows it inside out. I've spoken to Tom Izzo about this, the great Tom Izzo, about this on several occasions, his coach at Michigan State. He knows, and Joe Lacob and other assistant coaches on the Golden State Warriors, they rave about the IQ of Draymond Green. Okay, well, here's the problem with that. Because you know so much and you're so knowledgeable and you can really pinpoint where the officiating has gone awry and it's gone wrong. You can't be quiet about it. You on top of them all the time. But they're human beings. And they can get to a point where they're sick and tired of you behind. And as a result, they're looking for a quick whistle on you. And it can compromise you. You being Draymond Green, you have to know that and you have to adjust. And I want to throw this at you, Max. When you brought up the Dennis Rodman thing with MJ, MJ was the unquestionable leader. Do you want me to tell you who I think gets let off the hook in all of this sometimes?
Steph.
I think it's Steph.
Yep, of course.
Because guess what? Let me tell you something right now. Even though Draymond Green loves and respects his teammates and all of that stuff, he ready to go to war for any of them. If you watch his behavior on the court, there's no one he reveres more than Steph Curry. None. Nobody. All right? And a lot of times, it's Draymond setting up those shots for Steph. Steph's phenomenal movement without the basketball and stuff like that. But it's Draymond giving him those passes, instinctually knowing where to get it to him, and enforcing other dudes to get Steph the ball. If there is one person that can get into Draymond's ear and be like, yo, bro, we need you. We can't have you doing this, man. Come, let's be cool about this. Let's handle this accordingly. And talk to Draymond Green in a manner that Draymond Green is embracing and accepting of whatever guidance they throw in his direction. It would be Steph Curry.
That's what I'm saying.
Far more than Steve Kerr. Far more than Steve Kerr.
Stephen A., this is what I'm saying about the dynamic on that team. Like, now, look, I know Draymond and Dennis Rodman aren't exactly the same player.
Not at all.
But of course, and Draymond has more diverse, and on the court, Draymond had more diverse offensive skills. But could you imagine a final series with the Bulls up against it, and Dennis Rodman's about to be MVP of the finals with a Game 7 performance? It wouldn't have happened.
Never.
And right, of course, and when Rodman took a hideout for a second in Vegas, I mean, they went over this in The Last Dance. He's in the room with Carmen Electra, and she tells it from her point of view. And Michael Jordan busts in the room. He was coming back with Dennis Rodman.
Knocked on the door.
That is Michael Jordan, like, as the unquestioned alpha of that team. And I do think, you mentioned Steph by name, I do think that's the difference in the dynamic of this team. That Draymond is as much of a leader and a heart and soul guy as anyone on that team, including Steph. And by the way, in terms of his importance to the team, everyone talks Splash Brothers, respect to Klay Thompson, one of the all-time greats. But to me, if you had to boil that team down to two elements, not just Steph Curry, to me, the second element is Draymond. It's the pick and roll partner. It's the vocal leader. It's the defender. It's the guy who allows you to play five out.
Than that.
Those are the guys who, he and Steph together revolutionized the game.
It's much more simpler than that. They love Steph Curry. It's impossible not to love him. One of the nicest guys you could ever meet in your life. They feared Jordan. Dennis Rodman, they didn't want to have to deal with Jordan. He won't have to deal with Jordan. The fact that Jordan didn't come to knock on his door to request him coming back. Jordan went to get him. Let's go.
This is what I mean.
You understand what I'm saying? They were there. Steph Curry, he is loved. Michael Jordan was feared.
So this is what I mean. In the absence of a Michael Jordan type on this Warriors team, we've already seen Draymond lose impulse control. LeBron goaded him into it, but he lost it. And as a result, missed a finals game.
Shouldn't have been ejected.
Well, okay, whatever, but he did lose control. And the fact of the matter is...
He didn't get ejected that game. After the game, they sat and they counted against the previous transgressions.
Right. Okay, fine. You think LeBron wasn't aware of how many Texas dude already,
Yeah, but LeBron stepped over him and put his you-know-what on his head, man.
No doubt. He was
you can't let that. The man rules alone should have had the officials leaving that alone. You can't do that.
That's my point. So
they knew Cleveland was about to get sent home in 5. That's what that was about.
Because Draymond is not playing with Michael Jordan, because he's not playing with someone like that, he has to rely on his own impulse control. So when you see Coach say he got out of line and it cost him, that's a real thing and a real concern.
Yeah, we hear you, Dr. Phil. We hear you loud and clear. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. In the end, if you're Draymond Green, that shouldn't have cost you back in the day. But this particular situation now, your reputation is preceding you, and you're going to get more quick whistles going forward. And you got to be mindful.
Who you, Oprah?
You got to be mindful of that, period. No, I just talk common sense. I speak real people. I don't speak above them. I speak to them. There's a difference. You might want to take notes. Just a thought.
Oh, I understand what's being said.
Are we ready to carry on? I got some news for you, fellas, that I think you might want to react to. Obviously, the T-Wolves fired their head coach, Ryan Saunders. They hired Toronto Raptors